Welcome back. All right, so the final of the videos in this series for me to post while I'm on vacation. The rest I will do when I get home, which means that there'll be all these people saying, oh, you need to change the way you're doing it. But once I've started a series, I don't change the way that I'm doing that series because I don't feel like it's fair to the teams that are done early because then I'd have to redo those and it turns into a whole mess. So we're going to talk about the Calgary Flames. Yep, I've talked about Edmonton. We're going to talk about Calgary. So that's 2 Canadian teams down out of the 7. For the regular season in the power rankings that I did, the Flames 18th in the playoffs, the Flames 24th. 2004, they went all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals. Since then, it has been mostly disappointment when it comes to the playoffs. In 2015, they won in the first round. That was against Vancouver. I'm not going to say that doesn't count, but Calgary beating Vancouver in the playoffs has happened before. It'll probably happen again. And they won in the qualifying round in 2020 against Winnipeg before being knocked out in what was officially round 1. Those are the only rounds that have been won by Calgary since 2004. So it's been a while since we've seen some success with this team. And the regular season, higher than the playoffs and the power rankings, I think that's absolutely accurate for the Calgary Flames. Their only Stanley Cup win, of course, being in 1989, the year before the most recent Stanley Cup win for the Edmonton Oilers, and 4 years before the most recent Stanley Cup win for the Montreal Canadiens, the most recent Canadian team to win a Stanley Cup. Now, in terms of a letter grade, I've given them a C, which is about as low as I think any of these are going to get. And I'm saying I think because I don't think I'm going to give anybody below a C, but I don't really think it over too much. I'm always interested and entertained at times by how people will put way more analysis on where I rank a team or what grade I give a team than what I give at the time. So, at any rate, the Calgary Flames, when we look at their leading scorers from 2000-2001 through now, not a surprise that Jarome Iginla's at the top. 908 games played, 434 goals, 465 assists, 899 points. Johnny Gaudreau is second on the list. 602 games played, 210 goals, 399 assists, 609 points during his time with the Calgary Flames. Backlund, 990 games played. This, of course, doesn't include this season. He would have had over 1,000 games if I included this season's numbers. 200 goals, 331 assists for 531 points. Mark Giordano, 949 games played by Giordano, 143 goals, 366 assists for 509 points. Monahan, 656 games played, 212 goals, 250 assists, 462 points. Matthew Tkachuk, 431 games played, 152 goals, 230 assists for 382 points. Elias Lindholm, 418 games played, 148 goals, 209 assists for 357 points. Craig Conroy makes the top 10. 507 games played, 97 goals, 211 assists, 308 points. His name's going to come up a few times in this video. Lanko ends up on the list too. 392 games played by Damon. 123 goals, 165 assists, 288 points. And Alex Tanguay makes the top 10. As I've said in this series already, it's fun when some of these names are on the board. 342 games played, 86 goals, 198 assists, I should say, for 284 points. The goaltenders, it's the Mika Kiprusoff show. And that 2004 run to the Stanley Cup Final doesn't happen without the Kiprusoff deal. Without them getting him as a steal from the San Jose Sharks, who were awash in goaltenders at the time. A record of 305, 192, and 68. 913 save percentage. Markstrom second on the list. Record of 105, 78, and 25. 907 save percentage. Riddick is third on the list in wins. A record of 63, 39, and 15. 908 save percentage. And Roman Turek, there's a blast from the past for you. 63, 68, and 20 record. A 906 save percentage for Turek. And then we get into sort of the meat and potatoes of the franchise. We get into the coaching aspect of things. Going back to 2000-2001, that's back to the Don Hay era. Greg Gilbert was coach. Daryl Sutter was coach. He would be coach again. He coached this team twice. Jim Playfair was coach briefly. Then you get Mike Keenan. Mike Keenan definitely made his rounds. You want to get into recycled coaches. Mike Keenan's one of the most recycled. Brent Sutter, also on the list. Then you got Bob Hartley. Hartley famously, of course, had a nice little chat with John Tortorella during that one season that Tortorella was coach of the Vancouver Canucks. Tortorella wanted to go to the locker room and have further chats with him, and they wouldn't let him. Glenn Gulletson is on the list. Gulletson's one that I think is a very good assistant coach / associate coach. Doesn't end up having a great track record as a head coach, but I really like him as an assistant coach. Bill Peters, Jeff Ward, and of course the current coach of the Calgary Flames, Ryan Huska, who has got the Calgary Flames to stay in a playoff spot far later into the season than anyone could have anticipated before the 2024-2025 season got started. Then you get into the general managers. Craig Button, currently, of course, of TSN, was the general manager in Calgary. Not that long. Daryl Sutter was the general manager in Calgary. So Sutter, twice the coach, once the GM as well. The surly but always entertaining Daryl Sutter. Jay Feaster is on the list. Jay Feaster, of course, famously giving an offer sheet to a player who would have to clear waivers before joining the Flames. He was lucky the Avs matched, or else they would have looked pretty bad on that Ryan O'Reilly offer sheet. Brian Burke comes in after Feaster's gone. Burke had a pretty good run as the general manager of the Flames. Brad Treliving, who's now, of course, general manager of the Leafs. And looking at some of these names, I realized we always talk about how coaches are recycled around the league. So are general managers. Don Maloney, general manager for the Flames. And then their current general manager, who is, of course, Craig Conroy. Conroy also shows up in the list when you get to captains. Steve Smith, captain of the Flames. And that's one that people might forget, that the same Steve Smith who was on the Edmonton Oilers in the 80s ended up being a captain of the Calgary Flames. Dave Lowry. Now, this was also when they were sharing the captaincy. Dave Lowry, Bob Boughner, Craig Conroy. There was a 2-season period there where they were rotating captains. Steve Smith was part of that rotation. And then you get into the permanent captain, who, of course, was Jarome Iginla. Iginla, the face of the franchise for a very long time. I don't think they got back full value when they did end up trading him. That was definitely an instance where they probably should have traded him before they did, but still, Iginla, an all-time great for the Calgary Flames. I do understand why they wanted to win with him, and I do understand why they kept trying to, get above that playoff line. There was a lot of hope there that maybe they could do something once they got there. Then Mark Giordano was the captain after Jarome Iginla's exit. When Mark Giordano exits, we then have a bit of a time period where there's no captain of the Calgary Flames before Michael Backlund became the captain of the Calgary Flames. He, of course, being the current captain. Hi. So it's been Shadow that's been in here with me today because this is the day where I've come back onto the set. But there's Maple, because Maple's decided to come in here and see what's going on. Cats are really curious because I'm keeping the door shut because it's so cold in here. But anyways, Backlund, of course, the current captain. And I think Backlund's signing and becoming captain is part of what we'll look back on as the end of the exit of players from Calgary. Lindholm, Gaudreau, Tkachuk, a lot of Monahan, another one, Giordano, another one. A lot of these really good players from that core who had really good regular seasons. They all kind of left, and Backlund staying and being named captain, I think is what we will look back on as, that was when that exodus stopped. I wouldn't rule out some exits with the Calgary Flames this coming off season, but I have to say if they end up making the playoffs, I'll be very curious to see what they do this year and if they affect their power ranking the next time that I do a long-term power ranking on teams, which in this case is the quarter century mark, but I'm thinking about doing something along these lines this coming summer. I just haven't figured out what yet. I know I'm not doing the year-by-year history videos, because no. But I already did that twice, and both times that people just don't generally watch. So hopefully people watch these videos. That's my hope anyways. I have to get used to the fact the camera, I put it on that side when I brought it back in here, because I feel like I get a better view of the room that way. But you guys can let me know your thoughts. Hit like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support as always. And again, I hope people enjoy this series. I enjoyed putting this together. And all the best to you. Take care. I'll talk to you again soon.